that certain person again or something like that. But I don't think it's ever a hindrance.
Would you say everybody has triggers?
Yeah.
Where would you say triggers come
from? Trauma, some form of trauma.
So are triggers? Do you think we heard? You say no?
Not all of them.
Not at all.
Some triggers come from like
Sagittarius, we be irritated over anything. There ain't no fucking trauma just because
But
we
would you
irritated.
say that that's necessarily a trigger though?
no, because it's.
I mean, in context with what he's talking about, he's not talking about happy times when you went to the
So are we talking?
ice cream.
All right. So what is the context?
I'm saying
I'm trying to
triggered
figure
as
out
in
what
being
talking.
obviously
When
triggered. You're being opposite of the mood that you're in. So.
But when he was saying trauma hindering a weakness being stuck in the past stuff, it wasn't talking about good times. So my thing
I'm not
is,
saying good.
so my thing is, if someone is triggered, it's a negative thing. Because sometimes you can be triggered to a happy moment in life and stuff
I'm
like
saying
that.
as a Sagittarius, we are irritated at any given moment. It's not from trauma.
But I'm a Pisces and I'm easily irritated.
So it has nothing to do with trauma.
So it also ain't got nothing to do with zodiac signs. Because you keep using Sagittarius as a premise to excuse being triggered. And my thing is, triggers, it had to come from, in his context, it had to come from some negative impact.
Can we describe
a
what
woman and it's two guys, and I don't want to just use two men.
Can we
Like,
define what
emotions.
triggers are? Like, what are we talking
So
about
I
in terms
said-
of triggers?
From an
Sometimes
outside point,
I would say as
Hey,
close as I
I don't
can.
know.
I would say as close as I can. Triggers are sometimes uncontrollable emotional outbursts or reactions that you know, based on something that somebody else may not know that they're doing, but it like the word says, it triggers something that happened to you. It takes you back to where you react in a certain way.
Something that changed you, impacted you,
Yeah.
traumatized you, things like that. It's not, in this context, it's basically
So in this
walking right back to
PTSD
trauma.
sense,
Even some people are triggered by certain topics, like certain things. Like, but don't bring that up around him. He doesn't like to talk about that.
Mhm.
That's a trigger.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
We can relate.
Certain people have certain triggers. Certain people may not like they shit touched by other people. You know what I'm saying?
I mean, so let's say that somebody don't like they shit touched by other people. That's like a trigger. Doesn't have to tie to something traumatic. Could it just be like, I don't like my shit touched?
It could have been when you were younger that you had your shit taken against your will. You know, like maybe your parents took your shit, older siblings may took your shit. So now you may not realize it, but now as an adult, it's like, nigga, leave my shit alone. Because subconsciously, you're triggered.
So that almost makes any reaction to anything a trigger at that point.
It could be though. And is that wrong? Like my thing
Well,
is,
then at that point, we're no longer describing trigger as something that's negative anymore. It's broad. It's whatever now. It's an action. It's a response to anything.
But you're talking about a conscious response. What we're saying is a trigger is an uncontrollable emotional reaction. It's
I mean, it
almost
can
like
be
an outburst.
It can be an uncontrollable whatever response.
you're not gonna be conscious.
No, because you can be consciously irritated and be like, bro, put my shit down. And you consciously aware of what you're doing as opposed to like you just having an outburst and really having to catch yourself like, oh shit.
So hold on. All right. So I want to ask you this: what is the traumatic situation that happened between you and Louis? The reason why you yell at him every time you put his hands
We gotta elaborate on that.
We're talking about triggers and trauma.
I want to know that.
Hey, you explained to me.
Yo.
He's a Sag.
Damn, I don't like being touched, bro. I just don't
Why?
touch me.
What happened?
Why?
It's a trigger.
When you
Yeah,
get
why? What happened?
Bro, let me see.
I
If I really have to remember, I don't know. I just feel like it's a violation. I just feel like, bro,
Only
respect
my
personal.
personal.
No, anybody, bro. Like, just get out my personal space, bro. Like, don't touch me, bro. Like, don't do that.
But where's the trauma?
so
Same
I just
deal.
looked
I never said that was trauma. You just said that. I never said that was my trauma.
So I just looked up, can you be triggered without trauma?
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, y'all can keep talking, but
No. That's kind of what I want to like. So
it says While many experts believe that trigger warnings allow people who've experienced trauma to decide whether they're prepared to see or read something, others think they're potentially harmful to people who haven't experienced trauma. So like at some point, even with or without trauma, you got to learn how to cope through your triggers. So to me, I feel like they kind of are the same. It doesn't say that it is or isn't. It just says like at some point, trauma intertwines with triggering. At some point, it's there.
So trigger and trauma are two different concepts.
Yeah, but they're like they're almost one and the same.
I feel like one, I say they go hand in hand almost.
Yeah, like you go through something at some point, even if it didn't impact you enough for you to remember the actual incident, something is telling you that this is a violation to myself, my well-being, my space, something.
Can I give an example? I'll give an example. One of my traumas used to be like performing. And being that when I was younger, you know, performing is a part of like doing music. If you do music, you gotta perform, you feel me? But before I used to be afraid to get on stage and shit. But the more open mics I went to, you feel me, that fear usually just faded away, faded to, you know, to the back and shit.
That's not trauma.
The mics.
It is trauma. If you let me explain why I was afraid to perform, bro. So you that's fucked up, bro.
Or spoken word.
Okay, I
Drop
apologize.
that.
You know what I was saying when I was young, when I was like 4 or 5 years old, bro. I used to be trying to dance and shit. My mom told me I couldn't dance, bro.
What kind of dance,
bro? I don't know. It was like Michael
Now I need to see Sin dance for the revamp podcast. We gotta see that, bro.
That's you dance. That's all like what kind of dance?
He said that nigga jerking in the middle of the living room. Hold on, he said it fucked him up though, bro. He like a Marion and Usher now.
He said he's a Virgo for real, bro.
But that fucked me up though. That was like 4, and ever since then, like I don't like to like dance in public and shit. That's why right now to this day, if I ever was in like in a public place, like I'm always chilling. I might be the one chilling with a drink in my hand or something against the.
You want to do the wave? Not only that, if we out in public, I gotta start the Go Lonnie's chant.
We gotta do it, bro.
I gotta do it now. This is gonna really make you mad. You gonna try to get away from it, but the spotlight gonna follow you. Go Lonnie!
Go Lonnie! Go Lonnie! And there's gonna be a big old circle around you too.
Big ass scene. I just imagine you doing
That
something.
nigga gonna break out breakdancing.
That nigga gonna pull a cardboard out of nowhere,
They
bro.
thought I wasn't hip
We
hop.
gonna just whip it out though. It's gonna unfold, bro.
Sorry, B-boy.
Damn.
Bring some cardboard out.
All right, so that was my example. I got over my fear of performing by actually forcing myself to do more performing and doing more open mic. So that was my thing. That was an example because anybody else have something they would like to, you know.
I just thought about that. Yep, I do have a trauma or trigger. I don't know. Maybe by the time I give the example, somebody will know.
It's a trigger trauma.
I have like I'm fearful of swimming.
Ooh, what?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know how to swim. I don't know
Me
how to
neither.
swim.
I know how to drown though.
And my thing is, I know what the youngest memory I have of learning how to swim was my mom trying to show us how to swim, but she panics, and it started making me feel like something must be wrong. I know another time I fell in a pool with my aunt, and she couldn't swim to help me. But
So
then
nobody saved you?
So her boyfriend was there, and he got me out. But it wasn't like I was drowning for that long. I don't even know how old I was. Probably like 7, 8.
Yeah.
And then, there's been other instances where like I might feel like I'm about to drown, but I'm not. Like I'm not even that far in the water. But I don't know if it hinders me per se. It does in a sense because I haven't learned. I'm old enough. I can afford to learn.
Right.
And I just haven't. Yeah, and I just haven't. I have not made that a priority. I have not made that a priority, like even in the summertime, to like learn. But I keep telling myself, like when I go in the water. But what has been getting me out, like the jet skiing and shit that I've been doing with my boyfriend and stuff, like I've been getting out in the water. But at first I was like afraid to go out there. So like I do feel like I'm getting more comfortable with being in the water,
Right.
but I'm still scared.
Still.
Mm-hmm.
If nobody else want to go, I got a question.
I don't know. I didn't hear APs. It's all good. I hear C's either. Iris.
What's your
Yes,
question?
your seat is in the building.
See, you got any trauma that you passed up?
You passed up.
Damn.
Not
No,
at
I
all.
don't want that trauma, bro.
Not at all.
All right, so I got a question.
Not at all.
Do you think trust is natural or distrust natural? So as human beings, are we naturally more inclined to be trusting first, or we are naturally inclined to be distrusting? For sure, family.
I'm going to say we're naturally inclined to trust.
I would agree. What about you, Steve?
Distrust is taught.
I would agree.
What?
What about you, Steve?
Distrust is taught?
I don't know. It depends. Let me ask you a couple questions.
All right,
Slow
go ahead.
down.
If somebody was looking for me, right? You don't know where they from.
Right.
You don't even know what their skin look like.
Right.
They just weirdly looking to you. You cannot describe them at all.
Right.
And they'd be like, "Hey, have you seen Seed?
Right.
Whoa.
Because Seed said he owed me something,
Right.
and I want to get it from him. Will you tell that said thing or person
No.
where I'm at?"
I like that. I really do like that though. It really explains. What is y'all
I
now?
probably
What
would.
is y'all now, nigga? Straight up.
I answer that.
That's
Of
hard.
course, now I'm gonna say no, but the reason why I'm gonna say no is based on past experience.
Okay.
So that's what I'm saying.
So this happened before?
I'm saying
Please tell me. Get him, see? Please tell me.
dealing with strive experience dealing with strangers.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Not in this exact scenario that
Oh,
you
okay.
described, but just scenarios with dealing with strangers and disappointment. I
Alright.
got sued. So with that being said, based on my past experience, I would say no. I don't know who you're talking about. But that's not. But all that past experience was taught. Those was lessons. So that's
What if they say I got $1 billion for Seed? I'm about to give it to him right now. But you better tell me where he at right now.
No,
We all gonna split the money together.
I love this nigga, bro.
What would you do then?
Give me the $1 billion.
Hey, he coming with it, bro.
Give me the $1 billion. I'll give it.
I don't give a fuck what y'all tell me. He coming
What you
with it.
mean you'll give it to him?
I'll give it to him.
Just
You give what, Seed?
Yeah.
You gonna give him Seed up for $1
I'm
billion?
not.
No, give me the $1 billion.
Y'all don't be listening for shit.
You gonna give the $1
Arguing
billion?
No.
So
So he's saying basically, I'm not gonna give you C's location, but
Yeah.
you can give me the $1 billion. I'll go give it to C.
So I can trust you. With $1 billion to give me $1 billion?
At that point, you don't have no choice because this person don't even got your contact information.
Look,
But
look, fam,
I think that he
look, fam.
came to this
I'm
person.
gonna put it to you like this.
Now
bro.
the
You
trust
gotta
is-
trust
I'ma
me.
still turn that shit
The
down
trust
because if you know where to be found with a nigga supposed to owe you $1 billion, but that's your loss, fam.
Exactly.
How you know where to be found? You know a nigga got $1 billion for you.
You ain't a true
No.
friend, bro. You
That's
don't
for
trust
sure.
her. Hey, I'm
bro.
talking, bro.
For sure,
You don't know
bro.
my nigga.
You see Wolverine? You. I don't walk to my feet.
How you gonna- how you gonna
Bro,
say
you
that?
hear me?
Hold on, time out. I
My
still
nigga
got-
need that,
Hold on, bro. I still
bro.
got 2 minutes, bro. Hold on, bro. I shot that.
And okay, see,
Shut the fuck up.
now we on this. That ain't even what that's not even what the topic was. So now we
So
on
now
to
the topic, look, so the topic still, bro, is trust or distrust what you think is natural? Nobody, not the room nigga, bro.
But he
Room
proved
like-
it though. I ain't gonna lie to you. See, he proved it right
What
there.
did he prove?
Oh, him.
I mean,
Oh.
we still need a straight answer, not a scenario question to answer the
We
question.
need the room to answer because only 2 people answer.
I don't even know. Wait,
Well-
repeat the question.
Do you think trust is in human
More
nature
natural than
than
distrust.
distrust?
Is it more easier to distrust somebody than trust them?
In my opinion, it depends on the scars. Because if your experiences is always good experiences, trust is easy.
I want to answer.
See, you can trust me to bring you $1 billion.
Because I run into some gullible people all the time.
Okay.
He gullible?
I mean, they're trusting. You know what I mean? They're trusting.
Look how you describe being trusting, though.
Damn.
What about you, Ashley?
I believe.
Hit the lights, fam.
That's because I'm scarred, nigga.
Damn.
That's real though.
That's me.
Oh, there we go.
Oh, there we go.
Hi, guys. Oh,
Hey.
where I'm at? I'm in y'all shit? Oh, it's
No.
over there. Okay. Where can I go? I'll just sit here. Who first?
Mine.
I'm a
Yeah, Louis just got it.
I don't think. I think you're born with a certain spirit that.
Hey, it's on action right now.
That was crazy.
The one you got.
All right, take two.
And I have his grandma.
Oh shit. I think you're born with the ability to know who to trust and who not to trust. Like even babies don't feel comfortable with certain people. I don't think it comes from trauma. I think it's a spirit thing. Like we're all in tune with it. I think if you trust too much, you're not listening to that spirit inside of you. That's just why there's a good chance that when you're too trusting, somebody's gonna take advantage of it.
Yep.
Because you're not listening. Yep. And they're already giving you hella signs. And you just keep bypassing it. But babies know.
Yep.
Animals know.
Yep.
And they listen to their shit. So yeah. There you go.
That's why my kids don't fuck with certain people to this day.
Yeah. Like
My sisters. No man.
Which brings me to my last note.
But people gonna take advantage of you.
Which brings me to my last note before I end my end of the show facilitating. The last thing that stuck out to me in this chapter though was clarity and motivation creates room for true friendship. Can anybody relate to that?
can you repeat that?
Clarity and motivation creates room for true friendship.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can?
Yeah.
I agree with that.
No.
Because communication, right? With communication, you get clarity on boundaries, you get clarity on people's intentions, and then what motivates them to be your friend in the first place? Is it because you have something that they need, you feel a void, or if y'all genuinely are literally just two souls that complement each other? So if their motivation is to start off as y'all met in school and y'all were study buddies or something, motivation was pure, right? And then y'all just kept building. But if your study buddy started realizing you keep passing all the tests and now they're just being cool with you because they can cheat off you, then that clarity is going to come at some point.
Sure. Anybody else?
I say maybe not.
Of course.
There's room for clarity and what else?
Clarity and motivation.
Clarity and motivation to obtain true friendship.
Clarity
I
and
didn't.
motivation
She's speaking
creates
to table.
room for true friendship.
Yeah. See, motivated in fields of study or whatnot, and not give a damn about friends and not worry about friends.
I was gonna say it ain't the only thing that make up a friendship, but it's for sure key points. That's what I was gonna say.
Add to it. What would you?
Well, it says creates room for true
Exactly.
friendship.
Means it opens up the space for you to have true friendship, but
Right. That was
Do you
it.
have any
all
true
the time.
friends?
Do I have any true friends?
Yeah.
Yeah.
When is it? When is
But
the not
If,
time?
but look, if I have clarity and motivation, let's say about something that I know I'm supposed to do, like whatever my career is, like I'm supposed to be focused on that, and I know that's where my motivation, and I'm clear on that. So I'm pushing so hard for that I'm not worried about no friends.
But the
So
universe
you-
will bring those type of people you need to help you get those goals accomplished.
I
bro.
And on top of that still goes back to
But then-
motivation. If you're not motivated to make friends, you ain't gonna make
But
none.
then look at a lot of the people that's in the music industry, or a lot of the people that's even in high successful places that's not living with true friends around them.
No, let's not look at those people.
I mean, but then again, that goes back to their motivation. If their motivation isn't to build lasting friendships, but more so build a network, they're not gonna make. They're not gonna
So
make
that's
friends.
what I'm saying. It depends. I guess
checking out for friendship.
to summarize what I'm saying, it depends on where that motivation and clarity lies, where you place it.
Well, that's why it says creates room. Like that's the key. Like right there is the key 2 words right there.
Yeah.
So you can either create that room or you can shut that room off. So right now it's saying if you got those 2 things, it creates the space for it. You don't have to take it, but it's there with clarity and motivation. I think because of that, those 2 words alone is true.
I guess.
And with that being said,
And understanding. I feel like you're missing some shit.
But
with
that's
that being
clear.
said,
Potato.
if you haven't read it, go ahead and get you 33 Strategies Award by Robert Greene. It's a dope ass book. That was chapter 1, self-directed warfare. So I'm gonna go ahead and pass the mic to the next person who's gonna drop their topic, whoever that person shall be.
I'll take it.
All right. So you start the timer.
Already got it, even though you're 8 minutes over.
Penalize this nigga.
There's time in it.
Is he rebanned from the
Read
reband?
my read.
If he get a
Reband.
total of 10 minutes over, he's rebanned.
Oh shit.
Reband.
I would like to add a topic.
Hold on. Let me know when you're ready.
I'm ready.
Hold on.
So this first topic is both of my topics are not related to the other. So the first one, it's about the power of receiving things from people who had good intentions and you squandering the opportunity to be a good person in return.
Wait, what?
Squandering the opportunity of being a good person to someone who was being good to you. Like, do you feel like that can bite you in the end, even if that person's not your karma? Like later on.
Whoa.
Hold on. What do you mean by being? What do you mean,
Like, say for instance, someone
repaying a favor?
not even necessarily repaying a favor. Okay, say for instance, you need somewhere to stay, so they let you stay in their guest house in the back, right? Something happens to said guest house.
What you mean?
You
It burned down?
It was an
maybe
electrical problem.
You just
yeah.
did
something on fire.
something fucked up, and now it affects that person, right?
Oh,
Maybe you subletted the place out to someone. Something happened to that person. Now they're looking for that person to
You subletted
y'all look at
a
you
guest
deep into the-
house?
something like that. Just whatever. Okay, the main house. Fuck it. Y'all subletted the
Because that's the whole issue.
Okay, so
That
fuck it. The person needed somewhere to stay. Bottom line.
Okay.
You then give them the opportunity to have stable shelter,
Right.
and something happened to said place while you were off at your main house, whatever, and they never tell you nothing. They just go on about their life, right? It comes back to you that, hey, now you're in trouble because whatever happened in that home while you were away is now coming back to bite you because you did something good for them.
Yeah.
When you reach out to them, they come at you crazy. Mind you, you didn't give this person this shit for, any ill motive. Do you feel like there's an opportunity for you to just chalk the losses, or would you pursue for them to pay you back now? Or would you just say, you know what, I did something good, whatever, this is what happens when you do something good?
Why can't I be like OJ?
I'm just
Who
trying
you want to answer first?
You.
All right. It depends on it. You can look at that shit from hella angles. Because I feel like anybody who looks at it like, I'm gonna walk away from it, like karma handle it. That's probably a more spiritually in tune person. Because a lot of other people would probably like try to go out and handle that type of shit. So, me where I'm at with it, I would try to look at it as like, karma usually by people in the ass. So you really don't have to do nothing. You just sit back and watch. Like karma, like people, you get what you give. Then what goes around comes around. I believe in that shit. I was told that shit from a kid. Like what goes around comes around. So like, watch how you treat people. Treat people how you want to be treated. So certain things may cause for like action, and certain things you can just kind of sit back on. I think in a situation like that, if they was being funny or something, bro, and there was no way to get your shit.
Yeah, I agree. It depends
Let
on
karma
the
handle that
situation.
shit.
Let karma handle it.
Sometimes.
Yes. Louis?
to piggyback off Sin Royale. So what they didn't tell us about is that karma does come back around. They told us the little first parts about karma, but they haven't told you the inside how it works. So in order not to receive the person's karma that is done to you is to not give it energy. So what happens is
Nigga, don't give it energy.
So what happens is if I come with you at this negative energy, negative karma, right? I did something, boom, to you. You thinking about it, you taking on plans, you manifesting it. Now you have just received that karma that was supposed to go to him. So what happened in this cycle of life, what happened nobody understands is that they just recycling the same karma back and forth because they're not forgiving.
Yeah. Or learning a lesson.
We recycle karma, but not bottles and cans of plastic. Shame on this word.
Damn.
Fuck.
Without.
Well, there's a karma. There's a goddess for karma. Ain't no goddess for recycling.
Damn.
And speaking of
see,
goddess of karma, do you guys do realize they have let a lot of entities in? And, these are some type of entities, and they are some gods to some people. I would just say about that.
all right, see, you have an answer.
What was the question again?
Are you serious?
Quite serious.
It's a lot of process.
I mean, I guess because it is the scenario that threw it off.
No, it's a good question.
No, I actually
It's a
understand.
good question. You'll be proud to repeat it.
No, I'm just asking. So if I have to ask it different,
Yeah,
Then
because
I'll
it's
do
a
that.
scenario because she has to save the scenario. Remember?
No, not it. Ask the question.
because basically this
I threw it off.
it's not about me, but someone I know basically is in a bind now because they did something good for someone else. So yeah, and it's like it's not too many options. You can't tell that person because it's like, damn, we know you did something good for that person, but then partly it's like, well, damn, is it your karma or is it their karma? If you don't pursue it, is it their karma? Or is it like should you pursue action on this person
It
because
could just be somebody's blessing.
It's the virtue of life.
It could be something that's going to transpire to something great.
It could be your blessing, which is how you
Wait,
how you
I got lost. The person who
wait, what?
did a good thing is now fucked up and they worried about what now?
Yeah, you know when you do the whole trusting
Basically,
factor.
their response when we were giving advice was like, we were like, hey, you should sue them, you should do X, Y, and Z. And they said, you know what, no, it's their karma. But it's putting them in a bind right now. So it's like, I get where they're saying just let the karma handle it and they'll just handle it on their end and be done with it.
So
But
if they were to take legal action, would they not be in the mind?
They're gonna be in a bind either way it goes.
So fuck it.
But it might not be because basically they just have to get the liability off of themselves.
Is it
And that's all they got to do. But they're looking at it like, okay, if I do this,
So
then
you
I'm
can step up.
snitching.
Is it insurance? Does that have insurance?
And legal
Well,
matters
that was
take
just a scenario.
way
Like
too long.
it's not the actual scenario. I was trying to remove the actual scenario, so that's just why the house might seem a little odd. But it's more
I
it's a
understood
more
where you was
simpler
getting at.
property,
Oh, simple.
but it has more of an instant legal problem to it because the release of liability wasn't done. Now I feel like I'm giving too much.
See now that sounds like either they really just don't know the repercussions and don't care, or they have an emotional reason why they won't just go and say fuck how they feel and go to get their shit taken care of.
Yeah, because when they reached out to tell this person, hey, you're putting me in a bind, they were met with a lot of basically, bitch, fuck you. It ain't got nothing to do with me now. Why are you even reaching out to me?
Right.
Well,
That's
it's
why
probably
we said.
easier for them
So
to fix the situation than
So
deal
that's
with
what I'm saying. It would be easier, but there's an emotional reason why they not keeping that same energy that they getting.
Yeah. Well, that was my. Anybody else got a response? If not,
on the whole concept. First off, I want to say, like I say all the time, know who you're dealing with. If you know the person that you're dealing with, you know what to expect. And you could damn near figure out who you're dealing with. Get a general overview of who you're dealing with within the first few fucking minutes, hours of just talking to them. So you can get a general overview of that person within just talking to them in the first few minutes. So you go to that, and then second off, don't do nothing unless you're genuinely doing it out of the kindness of your heart. So you're doing it without, you feel me, worry about everything else on the back end is whatever. You're doing this because you feel like this is what you need to do, and this needs to be done.
I'm pretty sure they wasn't expecting to get fucked.
I'm pretty sure there wasn't either.
Yeah.
But
No,
once
they
again,
don't.
when you say like there's an emotional reason, the fact that they're not taking it to the law, which means that they know this person.
Yeah.
So you know who you're dealing with.
Right.
You know the type of person that you're dealing with. There's been patterns that before they've shown. There's been things that they've said to show you that this is the type of person. You feel me?
Not if they slick as fuck.
They can try to be slick as fuck, but if they slick as fuck, you gonna know they slick as fuck. Because they gonna do some slick shit, and you gonna be like, that shit is slick. And if they do some slick shit and you pick up on it, they slick as fuck. How you not gonna expect them to do no slick shit later on? So it's like, know who you're dealing with, that way you won't be surprised when certain stuff happens. And as far as karma go, that bitch ain't never knocked on my door and was like, yeah, I handled so and so for you. I ain't worried about that. I just live my life, man. At the end of the day, sometimes when shit happens, it may be a story or a learning experience. Maybe not for you or the person that's doing it, but maybe for somebody else that's watching. So sometimes your trauma or the stuff that you go through is not about you sometimes, and we have to look at that, you know? It's bigger than us.
You ever learned a life lesson just from observation? Like you never went through, you seen somebody do it?
Multiple.
Most of the time.
Like I ain't smoking crack.
Most of the time, if you watching, you learn.
Yeah. That's one thing we were born with.
Hey, I learned a little
Ability to
kid.
watch and learn.
Right. That shit is not
Observe
okay.
and learn from other people doing and their experiences and stuff. And it's only when we get older and get hard headed and start thinking that letting our egos take control that we feel like we don't have to do all that. We have the answers or will, like. But at the end of the day, we observe and we learn.
Well, thank you, Louis. Did you have an answer?
Well, shoot, I feel like some people just react to certain things just by they different basically comprehension of that aspect of, you know what I mean? Like some people, like I said, you'll know not to do these things or get into these things already because you've seen somebody else go through it. You know, another aspect, you could have heard somebody else go through it, or you just, if for the people who don't want to say something, it could be something like self-inflicting, like you got anxiety. You want to go tell this person, you want to confront this person, but you know, anxiety is holding you back from doing it. You don't know how to do it. You're scared of what might happen after. You know what I mean? Exactly. So that's kind of what shoots you in the foot. You know, it's just on different levels of shit, I guess.
I think since this is like a real life situation, I think what you just said fit the last point you made about your topic, about clarity and like if you actually viewed this person as a friend before you even gave it to them, knowing who they are, you would have known, like, you know, and maybe I can help in a different way, maybe not give them this. But I mean, because real life, this particular person had a pattern already.
No.
They had a pattern already with other fucked up shit
It's
in the
been done
same
before.
relative
This
shit.
didn't just come
Exactly.
out.
This didn't just come out the blue. So it was like small little things, and then the anxiety came on my end when I found out that you gave this person this. I didn't say anything. I just kind of was like,
See, you watching it, you knew. So you
I didn't, because my thing is the deal had already been done. By the time I heard about it, it probably was already a week in, and it was already like, what they gonna do? Oh, Shay told me maybe I should get it back.
Shit.
Like it was already too late. I just kind of looked at it like, oh
It's a
shit.
done deal now.
In my head, I'm like, why did you do that?
Because
Like,
you could have prepared it like that.
no, because it was already done. By the time I found out about it, the transaction was already maybe a week in. So I didn't know. But by the time because, you know, they didn't do it, you know, when you fixing somebody's crown without telling the whole world, that's basically what happened. They just happened to mention it a week later. Someone else. The way it was mentioned, it wasn't like, well, I did X, Y, and Z. It was just in casual, like it was mentioned casually. No, it wasn't them. Somebody was like, how does so-and-so like so-and-so that you gave them? That's how it was. And I said, you get... That was it. What? So it was like an anxiety behind that because the part of me was like, well, should I say something? But then it was like, I try to check myself, like, why do I feel like they aren't deserving of that?
You
So I try to
panicking
check.
for them.
Yeah, because I already seen the pattern, and a couple months later, fast forward, exactly the same shit, and now it's worse because it's not just them fucking up, you've involved someone else.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So the reason why I asked this question, the reason why I just said I'm gonna detour a little bit was because I felt like it was perfect segue from him. Because clarity and motivation does create room for friendship in my mind. And I feel like this situation, if they were going to truly be friends, clarity and motivation should have been established. Because what they did was something a friend would do. Because we all cited that this person was in need. And them trying to be a friend in some aspect caused them to do something friendly that is now biting them in the back. I mean, in the whatever, it's biting them basically. So if they had got clarity and caught the motivation on the other person's end, they wouldn't be fucked right now. Woo. Where are we at?
Why did you struggle with saying invite them in the ass, but then turn around and said they would be fucked?
I mean, because every
Yeah,
time
I can see how you just and then stop the recording of herself.
no, because every time I say something about ass, y'all fall apart. Oh, there we go.
We created trauma within action. They say ass.
All you want to talk about is ass.
And sex.
And sex.
And vaginas.
And vaginas.
I'm doing it every time.
She got to do
All
that.
3 of them I have. Oops, just talked about it. Anyway, so where am I at? Oh, okay. So my next topic, as someone who has recently grown in affection towards guns, yeah, I love them now. I did, yes. We'll just.
Just like every
It's
other
so-
black kid in the neighborhood.
Oh no, but I plan on actually like doing something with this. So no, not like no for real.
Y'all got
You
that off the record, right?
No, it's not in a bad way. I promise you, it's hella good. I'll
Edit
tell you
that
how-
out.
No, it's good. It's good. It's good. I promise you. So, I'm now thinking of like.
Starting the Black Panthers. I knew you was thinking about it all along. You was just waiting for the present time to get started.
No. So,
Take action.
for a while, I've been wanting to like learn to defend myself, especially with firearms, because that is a prevalent mode of self-defense with people these days. They just like to go straight and shoot, and they don't fight anymore. So, I was thinking, like, should I train my son? What if something ever happens where we're in a situation where my gun may be present, but mom might be hurt and he has to, you know,
I think
defend
you should.
himself? So, yes.
You know you can defend yourself with a sword.
I think you should.
Thank you.
You ever thought about training your son in the arts of sword?
Yes, I've already looked into it.
You ain't never seen them little white girls on
This one
Instagram
was
with the AKs? You ain't never seen the little white girls on Instagram with the AKs. Like they teach their kids brilliant.
So can I yeah. So it then brought me to figuring like, oh, okay, it might be time for my son to know, and then eventually my daughter, right? So I've been talking to certain friends and family and shit, and I've gotten mixed reviews. Like some people are saying, you know what, a lot of these school shooters are doing that because they were taught, and you don't want to do that. What if your kid is one of those ones that end up doing that? And I'm like, well, my children are pretty like level-headed.
My children are black.
No, I think you should. I think you
So
should.
I started looking at, you know, the fact that I'm getting mixed reviews, and both sides to me are valid. You feel me? Because what you think your child might be ready for, they may not be. But then I also feel like adults, the same thing. I kind of look at adults as children sometimes. So my, I mean, well, technically we had, who was that, John Muhammad, who shot a hella people. He's a sniper.
The black man?
He's a black man. So, yeah, it was a couple years ago.
Yeah.
I think it was.
In DC, right?
Yeah, it was mass shooting.
Yeah.
Shooting. But anyway, I
You
just
got
feel
a
like
manuscript?
who's next? Who's next?
No,
Who's
go ahead.
there?
No, because I'm listening.
I am
So
too.
my question is, when, like, how can you basically determine that someone is ready, especially a child, when they're ready to operate a firearm? Like, what would be the main
It depends on the child.
indicators that you would feel like this child and not this child should know? Because ultimately it is self-defense, and they may be able to disarm someone, get a gun, or a person might drop anything and then have to defend themselves. So when do you feel like they would be mature? Like, what is a sign of maturity towards using such a dangerous mode of self-defense?
I think if you are going to allow your child to like fire weapons, then that should be already be decided before the baby born. Like that should already be something you know before the baby pop out.
Yeah.
That's what we're gonna train this baby to do. So after that baby is born, for like the first 12 years, you should be monitoring that nigga's emotional state. You should be really paying attention to that nigga to see if he got outbursts, seeing if this nigga is just stable and functional, just seeing if he got anger issues, and you know, depending on what you see, and if you can determine that okay, this one is cool, this child is actually emotionally stable, for sure you can start doing that. But I think without really paying attention to those type of things, you can kind of like, you playing a gamble.
I think all the while, though, I agree with what you're saying, but then I think at the same time, while you're monitoring, you should also be teaching all of your children, especially if you're going to have firearms in the home, about the safety from jump, so that everybody is well educated. Because I know her kids very well, and she knows mine very well. I know for damn sure my 10-year-old, he gonna kill us all in our sleep. But my 15-year-old, he gonna be on Instagram posing in the mirror with that shit. My 5-year-old, she's not gonna fuck with it at all. But I would still want to teach each and every one of them about like safety. And it's still, I think my oldest, although he'll be the one in the mirror with the shit, like if some shit pop off, he always gonna ride for his mom.
That's how I feel about it.
So Khalil for sure.
What about the 10-year-old?
My 10-year-old is autistic, and he will kill. He'd be ready to fight me over a peanut butter sandwich, and I'd be having to pop that nigga. So no,
because that's when you said
he's not. He's not ready.
He like you.
So on that concept, you still don't.
Right, hella good.
Right, what's the argument?
I just showed you you can buy that shit, bro.
But I'm just saying, like I think that because I plan on getting the fire, I think we should start off money.
No, I've already told you guys about this.
No,
But
but
I've already told you guys about this.
I'm
and
coming. It's my birthday in 17 days. I'm ready to shoot some shit up.
All right.
You just call me.
Okay.
Y'all know it's my birthday month.
Okay.
My birthday.
Birthday shooter. So
He's a birthday shooter.
That's right.
when you say watch their emotional state, and like, and once you determine, all right, let's say he doesn't have the emotional state to handle a gun. Let's say you have one child that does have the emotional state too, and one child that doesn't. Then how do you do that?
So
What do you mean? Like, how do you
teach
explain
one
to
and
one
not the
that they
other.
can't do it and not the other?
Yeah.
I would tell Tank, check this out, bro. Remember
This
how you used to love them?
nigga got an emotional
No.
state already.
How do I talk to my kids? How? I talk to my kids like I talk to y'all. Check this out, bro. You are not. This is not for you. It's not for you.
it's not for you.
It's not for you. Period. Like my oldest, I'll let him know. Look, whether we already are full aware of what his mental state is. So I would literally have to sit him down and explain to him, like, look, there are already certain laws set in place for people that have, because he's aware of everything that he has going on emotionally. So I would actually sit him down and like read with him and show him why he's not able to do it. So technically, I would just blame it on the white people and not myself.
Ooh.
They do it to us all the
So now
time.
you finna go shoot up a white school.
No, what I'm saying is I would sit down with my son and go over the laws and let him see, like, this is why I'm not going to let you learn at this time because blah, 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 blah. I'll let him read and see, and then we'll leave it at that. Okay. Or it's going to be because I said no.
All right. Well, Lou.
Black mothers.
That's right.
You can't
I'm one of
live
the
with
last
them.
ones left.
You can't live without them.
Hey,
And I whoop everybody kid ass.
C, do
Don't
you
bring
have
your
an
kids to
answer?
my house if they can't get a whooping.
about
See,
training my kids with guns.
yes.
If I'm gonna train my kids with guns, I'm gonna train my kids with every other weapon there is as well.
Straight up, see,
So that's
nunchuck.
So once
everything.
again, to stay on topic, I didn't say that we're only going to teach them guns. I'm asking, how do you feel about training your children with guns? Your children, future
I would.
children, family member that is emotionally all over the place, whoever. Like, as of right now, how do you feel about training someone like a child or someone with a child like mine? With a gun, like, do you feel like there's
Any
indicators
child?
that they would not be ready, or any indicators that tell you when they are ready? Like, will you want to train them?
I would.
A minor child.
I would.
I think that me personally, yeah, and then at that point it just your kid, when they're ready.
Mhm.
If you do say yeah.
So in this scenario, just for clarity, this is not them saying, "Hey, can you train me?" This is you saying, "Hey, I'm about to train."
Yeah.
Okay. So in that scenario,
And I feel like
As a
it's
mode of
already done
self-defense, even if you've taught them other shit.
because I was like,
Right.
because it really depends on how you introduce firearms to them. Like, just cause saying like some people see them through like movies and shit. Like a lot of people first see them through like. So I was just like, it really depends on how you introduce it. Like, how do you? The only example I can really give is like with weed, right? One thing I used to tell my kid, know I smoke, but one thing I always explain to him is like, hey, I'm medicating instead of, hey, I'm about to go get high. And he asked me,
Oh,
why?
Listen to me.
But what he would say is like, why do you do it? And I'd be like, hey, this eases my stress. Pop be stressed sometimes, and this helps him relax. So he understands why I do it. And like, I just switch it up a little bit. Be like, hey, I'm medicating. I'm like, So, like I said, it just depends on how you introduce it to him. And
All right. So, anybody else? No.
I just feel like it's the same thing that we're, but I feel like it depends on how you handle your child. Same thing like I feel like he's responsible enough for it. I don't know the differences. Also depends on you think they really will mentally to understand already by seeing patterns of your child, but physically is he ready or she? But that's how I feel about that. You just have to weigh every level before introducing that.
Okay. Only people that have not answered yet is
Louis?
Louis and C.
I did answer.
Yes, you do.
No, he asked me a question that was not answered.
No, I didn't.
You never answered.
I said, and I quote, I would teach my child every other weapon
But that
in the
does
world.
not answer. I asked you, is there time, like, is there any indicator that would tell you if your child is mature for guns or to where you can't train them? You saying that you would train them in other forms of self-defense is not answering that question.
It is, because they see guns.
So what is the indicator after training them everything else that tells you they're ready for guns?
Whenever you feel like it.
So when will you know that your child is ready?
Whenever you feel like it.
So what will tell you that you feel that they're ready? Because like at this point, like, do you want to
When
pass
they're
on
watching a cartoon or when they're watching a said movie that they see the gun.
The said movie.
It don't matter what time. Anytime is a good time to teach your kid to be very, enhanced in how to handle weapons.
I would say, I would add on to, I guess if you really go by like scientific terms, if you really go by like age limit, so like if you're supposed to be emotionally developed by a certain age, I would probably say, in my personal opinion, I would probably wait till you were like 16 or something before I would think about even trying to train them and like physically training them, go take them to the shooting range. Because like I said, my son right now, he's only 12 years old. Right now, in my opinion, I think it'd be way too early. Homeboy might shoot himself and shoot somebody else, not on some violent shit, but just accidentally. So I would just wait until he's a little bit more conscious of just how serious that shit is.
So, hey everybody, I'm quiet for a minute. I'll start as early as possible. You want them to be able to be comfortable, and you want them to have a respect for it. And then, as a young age, yeah, they're thrilled by it, but around 6 or 8, if you guys, roll shotguns, they start testing it out, they will grow a real respect of it, and they won't see it as a toy anymore, and then they will respect what it is, and it'll be up to them if they want to get better or go further inside that craft. My kid, he loves them, so I want him to respect it more for it than just have fun with it. So,
A lot of shooting teams and baby teams be shooting shit up.
right, that's because they don't have a father.
I said when I made the conscious decision that when I have my kids, before I teach them anything about a gun, they gonna learn how to shoot a bow and arrow.
Okay.
That's what's up, man. They're shooting AKs at you.
They gonna learn how to shoot a bow and arrow first.
But I think bow and arrow would be good though, because that still teaches like precision and.
It will though.
Then we'll get into guns and shit later on, around teenage years. But before then, you're gonna do the bow and arrow, do paintball.
So once they do bow and arrow, at what point, like, is it a year? Is it when they start doing it with their eyes closed? At what point will you know in your mind that they're ready for the next level?
You know what is crazy? Niggas shooting from down the street there.
That's what I'm saying. This question is my bad.
What?
I was just saying because this question is so complex because it's one thing to teach them how to use the gun, and it's another thing to kind of teach them or motivate them to be ready to use the gun. So those are two different things, you know what I'm saying? So it's like,
Depends on if they're introduced to them at a young age or not.
The reason.
that's where I was going back. I'm like these preteens and baby teens.
Because they're all introduced to guns early, but they're not introduced to other things. So it's like I want to show them that there's other things before you can go grab a gun.
But
There are other things.
Right.
If you can shoot a bow and arrow, you can damn near have good precision.
Yeah.
Well, it's not introduced
The
correctly, right?
impact
So it's
is
introduced
different.
through negative stereotypes. It's not introduced properly. If it's introduced properly, then it will become respected, respectfully used.
I forgot what your point just was because I was about to respond to it.
I was saying it was two things. You know, it's one thing to teach them how to use the gun, and it's a whole other thing to like motivate them to be ready. Because it's like, all right, when you think about gun training, you're talking about, I'm thinking about like soldiers, police officers. These people are trained to kill as opposed to training somebody to use it in self-defense. Like, how do you train firearms in self-defense? It's like, one training I know is shoot to kill, like train to kill.
Well, that's the thing, because I know I'm being actually trained to use a gun. I'm not being taught by a cousin, brother. I'm trained by somebody like certified to do this shit. The first thing he told us is, you don't pick this up unless you're ready to shoot to kill. You're not, or till it's off you. So my thing is, I wouldn't teach my child just to know how to put it together and know how to shoot, because you may use it at some point. No. Just know you should not be picking this up unless there is a threat. Period.
Yeah.
That changes the reason why you picked it up.
Unless it's an imminent threat.
Right.
That you cannot
avoid. Exactly. So my thing is, it shouldn't be picked up. So if someone is saying I'm gonna beat your ass, don't pick that up. You feel me? Now they said I'm gonna shoot you, and they show up at your doorstep, it needs to be picked up. But just someone talking crazy to you on the internet, you know where they at, that is not shoot. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, you shouldn't teach no child, no adult to pick up a gun and they don't plan on using this motherfucker. Like, you should always, the minute I pick this up, I know there's a good chance that I'm gonna have to shoot somebody one day. And it's literally a part of you getting your certification. That's one of the questions. So it's just kind of like, so my thing is, I'm not teaching my child to not defend themselves when they have this. They need to understand that the only reason why you can pick this up, the only reason why you would punch in this code and this line, the only reason why you would disarm this motherfucker is because you're planning on using it. You're making sure that it's clear. You're making sure that when you pick it up, it's not it's not live and you're holding it wrong. Like, you need to know that this is an instrument that kills people. So if you ain't picking it up, if you just tossing it around and shit, you can understand that you might shoot Nye over here. You might shoot AP over here if you're just playing around. So don't pick it up, because you're gonna kill somebody with this motherfucker. Like, that's the number one thing that they should be taught the minute they pick it up. Whether it's a bully
We
Oh,
all
or
know
not.
kids ain't stupid.
I don't think what I said, what I meant was that a parent knows when their child understands death and seriousness and so forth, just like that, they understand when the kid knows what's serious and what's not. And then a trainer lets them know what situation and everything that happened. Everything is a professional trainer. Everything that you ever worried about, there's a professional who can answer those questions. If you have any worry in the world. I mean, that's the whole point of a professional.
So that's when I think they're ready. Is when you have expressed to them the severity of what danger is. What is death? They cannot come back from death. Like, explain that. Like, if they don't understand those premises and they think that watching a TV show you can conjure somebody back to run dead and all that shit, then no. Like, if they, no, for real.
Hold on, what child is running around
So I'm just whatever, like, because we be getting sidetracked on the small little scenarios, but I'm just saying, like, if there's an inkling that your child does not take death seriously, then they're probably not ready, because this gun can kill someone. It can injure someone. They can't come back from this shit. They leg come off, it don't grow back. Don't give a fuck how many sci-fi movies you saw grows back, it don't happen like that at all. So it's like that's the fact that some people see those things and some people believe it, or it desensitizes them. They're not ready.
So,
I'm sorry.
Asking, and I don't mean, I'm just asking out of curiosity. Like, when I'm saying, a lot of these young cats out here think that they don't believe that once they shoot things, they coming back.
I think that they understand it. However, they became desensitized from it at some point. Whether it was before they shot somebody, if they ever shot somebody, from rap music, the fact that people are glorified after death in a lot of these situations, the severity of death is not impressed upon them correctly. So therefore, I would not say that those young gentlemen or those young women that pick up guns these days, they're not ready for guns. They just feel like because of wherever they're at, they've been taught that they should have one. But they are not ready to have one. They were not trained correctly and they do not understand when and how to use it. But if it's my child, I'm going to do my due diligence to tell him. Now, if he wants to go with his friends and they teach him something wrong, I probably would not know that until it's too late. However, I'm not going to sit there and not make you aware of the severity of it. Because if you go to your friend's house and they got one lying around, you pick it up and you shoot them, you're gonna be in trouble, or you could kill yourself, or whatever. So I just want to, like, for me, the minute they are introduced to a gun by TV, or they see one at a friend's house, or when I finally do purchase one or whatever, it's like at the end of the day, I need them to understand that what's in this house can kill you.
Once a kid shoot,
just like bleach, this can kill you.
Do you think,
like,
because
I wanted to say, respond to what you said though. You said about the specifically the teenagers with the guns. What was you saying about them?
I was just saying, because the whole thing I was responding to what she was saying, like, once they understand the seriousness of life and death, but I'm like, you think these 12, 13, 14-year-olds don't know once they shoot somebody that they know that these niggas ain't coming back?
Yeah, they know. Well, they know that.
I feel like that's at a different point when you in a game. Like when the kid they not up in the game. When you're in the game, you're over there looking at them. Like then they're like a game of tag. Like, oh, I'm gonna catch these niggas. You understand? It's like you already in the concept, but we playing tag. You feel me? That before the little kid can even understand separation and clicks and all that.
So that's why I think proper introduction needs to be bought at home way before they play a Call of Duty game, way before they find out from their friends, way before they hear about a fucking gun on a rap song, because all of that stuff is it's encouraged positively. So you win that mission at the end of the game. You win those points. The live congratulates you. They're not calling you a bitch ass nigga. It's not a little 14-year-old in Japan calling you a bitch ass nigga because you just lost the whole company's point. But it's just at the end of the day, at some point, even if they're not ready to physically handle one, they have to be ready to know exactly what danger that is. Because if they go to someone else's house and uncle is letting them hold a gun, they don't know that it's wrong, because they're not going to teach them the same kind of way. They probably assume that you know better. Anything, you tell them about the impacts of life and death and how you're not going to come back, and how, all that other shit. I mean, it's not going to be no 100% perfect way to do it, but I just feel like in all things, we should be the first teachers. And I feel like that shit is most important, especially in our community. we're not telling them enough that it's not like this is important, this is serious, and like you shouldn't be picking it up if you don't plan on shooting somebody. And if you or whatever. But my next question was you end up kind of mentioning, but and we also kind of brought it up a few times now, actually, like watching video games, listening to music, watching movies and stuff, seeing how they're mishandling guns in movies. Like these motherfuckers would just pick it up and be talking like, oh, like that's really how you handle this shit. Like these guns are heavy. They're also like the impact is harder. These people aren't just going pew pew pew. That's not how it goes in real life. So like, do you feel like watching that type of stuff, having the toy guns at home, the laser tag, all that shit, is teaching them the improper way to handling it?
Yes.
It's teaching them the wrong scenarios on how to use it, or the outcomes is wrong. It's unrealistic. These rap songs, same thing. You just pop somebody in the head. There's no other mental anguish that comes from it. There's no PTSD that happens from it. There's no recovery, rehabilitation. What does that look like? Bullets are still inside of people. They still walk around with shit in their bodies that they can't remove or it's going to hurt or kill. So it's just kind of like those type of things are not being expressed. So I feel like even if you don't put the gun in your child's hand or teach them how to disassemble and assemble, at least the conversation and acclimating them to the logical part and all that part, like should that happen? Or like, do you feel like once they're introduced to it incorrectly, is it too late?
See, this is a whole debate that's like super big debate because this is like a debate that they talking about in like government.
Right.
But in my opinion, it's just logic versus emotion. I mean, logically, somebody ain't gonna shoot you when they know that they probably die if they do it. They're not gonna take that risk logically. But emotionally, it's like, what if this happened? What if that happened? What if this happened? What if that happened? What if this happened? You know what I mean? I don't know. Maybe it was just too simple.
No, that was a perfect equation. That was actually the best way to answer that question because it is it's a balance between logic and emotion and knowing if your kid is at that balance or not. That would be the perfect way. That would be another way to answer that. I know if they're ready.
So at that point, then you gotta start looking at all of the rest of this shit in the world. There's only so much you can handle.
So I know we way past your 30 minutes. Well, you a bad timekeeper, bro.
Well, I told you guys I was going to do 30 minutes, so I supplied probably. But I think there is no wrong answer, so it wasn't like a judgment question or anything.
That's the wrong answer.
No, because there's no wrong answer. Like I feel like everybody's level already is different. Like there's adults that still do not have the mental and emotional capacity to handle a gun. They also don't even physically grasp how to even handle a gun. Like they could be taught multiple times what they're supposed to do and they're still handling it wrong. I just went on a camping trip with someone that kept flinging a gun with 5 rounds in it. Just flinging this motherfucker. And then he threw one of the fucking bullets in the fire. So it was just, at the end of the day, I feel like that was a perfect example of, I'm going to teach my child early. Now, somebody else can feel like, hey, once they about to come out of my house or whatever. I just, that's it.
The earlier the better. Like I said, builds character and like build respect for any child that shoots a gun. They're gonna respect it. Ain't no that child's gonna be, oh shit, yeah, I'm gonna go shoot someone. They gonna respect the fuck out that gun, regardless. Once they shoot their first gun, they gonna respect it. They gonna know. They already know what it comes with. Your child. I mean, we have to understand these kids are smart as hell. Like we act like these kids ain't smart. I know some of them they like to play off because they want to act like they're not smart to you. You know what I'm saying? So they ain't gotta do what you said, but these motherfuckers is smart. They not retarded. They not slow.
The world is bigger. Show them how to spit, dog.
I understand what you're saying.
Everything. Whatever.
What we're doing is we're not just doing myself. We're doing the real gun control. So what we're doing is really we're giving to them early to where they can understand what this is. Because if they don't understand or have a grasp, like you said, the reality of how it takes one's life, if they don't understand it early, then I don't think, later on, it's just going to be pure emotions because he's already going to have built his mind, his state of mind already, so nothing that is going to change. But if he learned it earlier, he's still, no matter what goes on in his life, he's still going to respect that, you know what I'm saying, that thing, regardless of how you choose how to use it.
Yeah, because there's kids that's taught boxing and understand that their hands are deadly, and they won't use them motherfuckers. They
Unless
will
they need
not,
to.
no matter how mad you get them, they will not use them because someone taught them your hands can heal.
Or they might be licensed.
So other modes of self-defense is still the same thing. So even if y'all keep trying to veer it away from gun control, y'all want to start talking about shooting people with fucking slingshot, no matter which way it goes, that motherfucker can kill somebody too. So at what point do you know that your child is ready to kill?
Cooking. I mean, I'm saying.
Period.
That's a whole different question.
I mean, but that was one of my other ones. But it's just like at the end of the day, like I mean,
That's the same question.
That's
I mean,
not the same
it
question.
is.
There's all type of weapons in the world, bro.
It is the same question. However, if
That's
there was
why I
a
said
reason why y'all kept trying to veer it back to, well, what if I wanted to use sword? What if I wanted to use a sling? Like, it don't matter. Once you realize that you're doing it for self-defense, you should always be thinking that I can kill this person.
Right.
Period. Self-defense ain't, I'm going to get them to see my side and we're going to stop fighting because I'm going to beat their ass so bad. No, there's a good chance that even if you fight this person with your fist, you could kill them. So when are you ready to teach your child? Like, to kill somebody.
Don't nobody think that they can kill you.
But you should. You should. There should be no reason why you're defending yourself and not understanding that there's a good chance you might kill this person. Period. Because you can bounce. I mean, you can box and still punch that person to the point where they hit the end of that table and they can die. You feel me? That is still a form of, you feel me, murder. Like you just, when are you ready to teach your child to kill? That's the premise. That's the overall.
That's
question.
something that should be told early. Like he was saying, that's early as fuck. When you phrase it like that, yeah.
But that's the thing, like I kind of, because I wanted to do my 30 minutes, so I kind of figured ask it a certain kind of way that leads to something else, that leads to something else. But that's the overall premise. When are you ready to teach it? Like, when do you know that your child is ready to learn to kill?
Only the parent.
When I see the first dead cat in the backyard.
God damn it.
Oh, okay. Well, that's
How
exciting.
did you kill a cat?
And that's gonna be over with. By the time he kill the cat, brother, he's done.
Yeah, that's sociopath.
He's
But,
gone.
but what if
my
you kill
God.
the cat by accident?
Hey, but let's
That's
stick
what
to
I'm
the
saying,
structure
so-
though.
But what if
Like, C, do you have a
If it
topic?
is by-
C been kind of low key quiet, man.
Y'all got a topic.
What's up, C?
What are your 3 prized
Set this
possessions?
nigga topic, please.
Najee,
Topic.
Brian, and Maria.
We probably ain't even gotta do no timer.
3 prized possessions right now.
Najee, Brian, and Maria.
Okay, now that's your 3 prized possessions. Anybody else got 3 other 2 prized possessions?
My dick and my 2 balls.
Possessions. Anybody else? Anybody else? Anybody else? Nobody else?
Yes, my children, Aaliyah and Khalil, in my mind,
Beautiful. Anybody else? Anybody else?
he didn't give me this. He didn't give me this shit for nothing.
My life, my spirituality, I guess my experiences.
That's what's up. Anybody else?
My mom, my child, my goals.
Your kids is not a possession.
Anybody else?
Yes, they are. They are always.
They are not seen.
Well, they're
They
a
are
possession
human
out of being
beings.
one that had to push them out of a coochie. I'm
Period.
sorry.
I birthed a 10-pound
Once
baby.
we pushed them
with
out,
no
that's possession.
epidural.
They took space in our bodies for 9 months, and then they leech off our bodies for 2 more years.
Shit.
Anybody else?
My broke little roommates.
Both of my kids breastfed for almost 2 years. That they are my possessions.
How'd you come up with this topic?
Anybody else?
Well, seeds pride possession.
Are we gonna have a
My
dialogue?
son, my music, and my genuineness. Now, since we got everybody out the way, since nobody else want to go, what are your 3 wishes? Let me hear some 3 wishes now. Anybody?
To remain fuck nigga free all 2021.
You wish that? You wish
Fuck
that?
nigga.
Okay.
Y'all want to hear the song?
I just need 3
So
wishes.
good,
I
man.
want to hear that
It's
song.
so good, man.
I just need
So good.
Anybody else? 3
Okay,
wishes?
okay.
Anybody else? 3 wishes.
I wish for
To be
infinite
successful. I want to
wishes
finish.
till
I got 2 more.
Infinite wishes. Infinite wishes till you die. I like that one.
She wasn't
I
done.
got 2 more.
You start singing.
I'm sorry. To remain fuck nigga free all the rest of my life. To make sure that all of the values and morals and things that I've instilled in my children remain in them until I die. And to be fine as fuck like my mama, because she's 66 and she hella fine.
Anybody else? 3 wishes.
Fine.
I wish for infinite wishes
Yeah,
till I die.
I wish-
I wish. I'll save that second wish.
What?
My third wish.
Y'all got
I
the
wish we
power.
would all stop fighting and get Stevie out of jail.
Who is that?
Stevie?
Oh, yeah.
You gonna love me, Stevie?
That's the Stevie I would do.
Oh my God.
Stevie.
Hey, Mimi, I see you with that little maid
Free
outfit.
Mama
That's
Sugar.
what we do.
Hey,
This is
might
a
be the
quote
day.
that I heard. And it went like, wish in one hand and shit in the other and see what you come up with.
Oh, okay.
So you don't have
Well,
no
then
wishes.
he wish he had more shit in his head.
Whoa.
Right? That sounds like to me. Somebody else got no wishes? No wishes at
Anyone
all?
that's ever changed a diaper, got shit.
He wish he had more of that.
No wishes?
I would like to give my wish. I wish that all of my wishes are always granted. And I also wish that all children are safe from spiritual, mental, emotional, and physical abuse.
Yes.
I believe with that wish, all other shit will be eradicated that is harmful to everybody because no one would be doing it. And then 3, I wish to be able to acquire anything I want outside of things that harm other people.
Do you want this is a side card thing? How did you get the name Action?
Oh, how did I get action?
Yeah.
Oh, because when I used to have my first Facebook page, I used to make, I guess, like hella poppin' ass posts, and it always would result in either somebody exposing somebody or somebody getting into it. For some reason, I don't know why that would happen. So,
Anybody got more wishes?
I'm not finna keep getting cut off. Like, that's crazy. Like your whole thing gonna go to 30 minutes. You know it's not. So yeah, that's where it came from. It was always action under one of my posts. So I said, hey, action.
So you didn't get action for your activism.
No, sir. I was already action. But I was always somebody that always spoke up for myself. That's always been me.
I didn't come up with this topic here.
I'm telling
Everybody listening? I don't think everybody listening.
you. There are 3 wishes, everybody that and one of these.
I think everybody volunteered.
Well, imagine all your wishes coming true, but your pride possessions are suffering. Imagine that.
Oh shit, nigga, no.
That crack get your balls and dick off of that.
Hold on. I saved the second wish though. I saved the second wish though. I can wish them bitches back.
I'm ready to answer that question.
I'm wishing them bitches back. What you mean?
I'm ready to answer that question. So, I know that my prized possessions do not suffer because, for one, I just wish for all children to not be harmed physically, spiritually, emotionally, and emotionally.
And emotionally,
You know what I'm saying?
emotional times 2, nigga.
Yeah, whatever. So basically, since I just wished for that, my children cannot suffer. They cannot
I feel
suffer.
that. Ain't no loophole in it.
No, there wasn't no loophole. That is the reality. If my
None of your pride
wish
possessions
is
though.
granted, my children would not suffer because I wish for no children to suffer.
But what are your prized possessions though?
My prized possessions were my children.
Okay, then so they don't suffer.
They
Regardless.
cannot
All the
suffer.
other children are gonna be healed, but your kids gonna
They
suffer.
cannot suffer because I
Only
said
way
all
they not going,
children.
only way they not going, you renounce your wish from
No,
the jump.
all
Imagine
children.
that.
You
That's
can't.
the only way.
There's
You
no
renounce your
flaws
wish.
in all children.
Oh.
There's no flaws in all children.
He just get a roots.
But my thing is, he just fucked up with his own question, since he wanted to build it last minute. No.
She's
So
always
my
right.
thing is, no, I am, because anyway, I said all children. All children. So my wish will always blanket all children.
The correct
I'm sorry, I'm the loophole, because that was my wish. You should have told us don't do that.
It will forever work. It will forever work the way Action says.
Yeah, because I said all children. So my children
But your
are my
parameters.
child. I mean, I wish for all children. My children
Not all
included in the
children
all.
your prized possessions.
But I still included my children in that. I said all children.
I
But
saved
my
the second
children are
wish.
included in my wish.
Only
so
way you can
therefore
stop
they
it is
cannot
you announce
suffer.
I still got one wish saved up, bitches.
So who cannot suffer?
So what's
Lupo.
part two of your question? What's part two?
What if all your
Go see Wonder Woman. The movie Wonder Woman is a great movie.
I know that nigga. Yes, he
We
was.
can't go
The
see
new
it.
one?
We can't
Yeah, the
go.
new Wonder Woman, 1984.
Saucy.
I got HBO cousin. Yeah, that shit.
That's how you got this
Your
stuff?
opinion.
Yeah, Wonder Woman. I went to go
I'm
see
gonna
it.
go watch it.
That's
That's
so
saucy.
good. I ain't gonna lie, it's a great movie. I seen that and I also seen Soul. Where do you think all your personalities come from?
Soul is so cute.
Yeah. That's my
Yeah,
next
Soul is
question.
hella
Where
cute.
do you think all your personality come from? Like honestly.
My personality?
Yeah.
My
Like every little trait in your motherfucking head, because we know there's a lot of it. Every little trait in your motherfucking head. Where do you think that comes from?
It's
My-
from
my-
those
my-
Disney
I say
characters
it's two
running on the inside.
I say one is one.
Yeah, I don't know. The door keeps opening and closing. I'm
Two
sure.
is that the
For men or
unconscious programming that you get from your parents, like your mom screaming and your daddy doing some shit. So those two things, your personality.
I'm gonna say real close. I'm wrong free.
Anybody else?
Yeah, I think it's
You out the door.
like a combination of your parents. That would probably explain like your conscious personality. Subconscious. And, you know, that could be like, you know, deeper than your DNA, like deeper down in the bloodline and shit like that. So it's actually a good question.
Well, go ahead, speak your piece.
Yeah,
Exactly.
We got a whole
Shit,
30
I'll shut him
minutes.
up again.
That's why he said he
You
wished
like
he
to
had
shut
more
up.
time on it.
We
You
got,
like to shut
we
up.
got a whole 30 minutes.
You like to shut
Damn
up.
near.
That's why he said.
Damn near.
Well,
26 minutes or something.
well, didn't you see Soul?
Yeah.
Okay, so elaborate on it. That's all.
But he just said he wanted
So
to
it's dope
answer.
as
No,
fuck.
he didn't.
No, he didn't.
Wish
You
he had
never
more
want to
time.
answer.
I hella love
Did you
Soul.
see it? Let's elaborate more on
He
it.
need more time.
Okay, so you want me to get the backstory?
I mean-
You said elaborate, so get a
That's
backstory.
what we talking about, right? That's all part of it.
No,
You said
you okay, you first said you want to answer, then you said elaborate on.
No, you said have anybody seen Soul so they can have a reference or they understand the question, which is where do you think your soul come from?
Not your soul.
Where does your personality come from?
So what?
I just want my girl here. I won't talk about it.
So are
So
we,
much to
are we
say.
elaborating on the backstory of the movie for the people
No,
that didn't
that was
see
just to
it, or
set
are
up.
we-
That was just to set up so you understand where the question is going because the movie was based about your personality and finding your soul. You gotta find your soul to get to Earth.
Well,
But your personality, they had little different
It
shit.
was a little deeper than that.
Yeah,
I got
I
way
get
more
you.
from that.
Like they were saying, like it depended, like the day he was born and shit like that. You feel me?
I got-
Zodiac
I
sign,
got way
like,
more
a
than
little
that.
bit of, a little bit of it, you know what I mean? So, what time of the day, and night you was born played into it. You feel me? The season you was born in. played into it.
You know what?
So it's a lot of different things that go into your personality.
Yeah.
The astrology.
May I ask, where did y'all see this movie?
Netflix.
Really?
So Disney
Oh wait, no, it's Disney Plus.
Because I'm like, I've been looking at everything new dropping on Netflix, and I for sure didn't see
Still
that.
watching Imposters.
Have you guys watched Utopia on Amazon?
Who?
Utopia.
Uh-uh.
I'm
Hold on,
watching-
but would you
I haven't
went to the
seen it.
Great Beyond, or would you have reincarnated?
The way the movie turned out. Probably
About 2 weeks.
Sure.
It's a hell of a movie.
Hey, but
And it was more than
it's a
good.
trip, though, that they actually making movies that's talking about like the spiritual and the soul and like
That's
all of
because
that
black
stuff.
people made
And
it
then,
trend.
it's focused on kids. So it's next 10 years, these kids have like a reference point to think about it, bounce ideas off of.
Yeah,
It's
that's
crazy.
Would you have went to the Great Beyond, or would you have reincarnated?
Me? I would have reincarnated.
What about you?
I would have stayed a cat though. Oh, I couldn't walk? I'm sorry.
It's
Ooh.
That nigga would have stood there and looked for a minute. What do I want to do?
It's record start.
it's because I got a different understanding of it. So it's like you want to come back because to learn something.
once you experience and learn everything that there is to learn, you get bored with it and you're ready to go to the great beyond. So I feel like it depends on that person's soul and how much they elevated in the process.
Okay. I was saying, what would you have done?
That nigga gave a whole insight. A whole insight. No answer, bro.
I feel like
He's
if
still.
I live this life right, I don't need to come back.
But in that moment that you had to make that change.
No, because I feel like
You would have went to the Great Beyond.
He was a-
You would have reincarnated.
Yes. At that point, because I ain't know enough. Yes, because I had to go figure it out.
You would have reincarnated at that point.
Yes.
It would have taken you this long to make a decision. I think the right choice would have been.
I mean, when they was on that slow ass escalator, I think you would have had time.
Right, to think about it, to be like, you know what, on second thought, I'm gonna go back there.
He would have gotten to this point where he would have been like, you know what, reincarnated.
I don't know. I'm about to.
Hello.
It's so
Damn,
cute.
that nigga is long. Look at the nigga tongue.
I want one. Hi.
Just
That's what he was saying to you. You thought it was right. Oh,
Louis. Would you have reincarnated?
girl.
Too many people for me.
All right, so basically the question is, when you die, would you stay
They
dead?
just brought the five up because I'm on the top.
It's time for me to put my mask.
You better get it. Mine's gonna fall there, but I don't give a fuck.
You
They just
gonna stay right beyond that.
die.
How you feel about it?
So it's crazy. So in the moment of me not watching that movie, nothing, I would go to the great beyond. But watching a movie, well, in the moment, yeah, I'll go to the great beyond. But after watching a movie, man, my bad. Yeah, I seen the movie. After watching the movie, he got a whole nother understanding. Because again, of course, he didn't want to get out of. He didn't want to go to the great beyond only because he finally got what he thought he wanted in life.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Thank
So that's why he pushed the issue so hard to get his ass back on Earth.
Right.
But then again, after doing all the shit, let the movie, fast forward, he finally got what.
No, shit.
I was right with you too.
Nah,
I got lost. You lost me.
Because some of y'all didn't watch the movie, so I
Right.
mean,
Yeah, that's the
We
thing.
don't
I
wanna
was like,
do
are we gonna get the backstory to the movie?
I don't have
Or are we
Disney
gonna
Plus,
answer,
so you
or
can-
are we just gonna keep bringing up terms and characters that no one knows?
If it was my decision, I think I would have said right there. You know, that was my decision.
Based off the movie, was it fun not being in the Great Beyond?
You really didn't get to
Was
see
the
Great
movie
Beyond.
like a fun type of
You didn't
movie?
get to see the great.
It wasn't even fun up there.
So it wasn't like the happy, like,
Everybody in was Jerry.
oh yeah, I'm sitting. This world is versatile enough. Just feel
It was different little aspects of that movie to just sum it up as personalities. I don't think it does justice. It spoke of reincarnation. It spoke of when we all die, we're all the same person. I mean, we're all the same. It also brought up people feeling like they're not done or they died too soon. Like they spoke of that. They spoke of people who has people that don't believe in their dreams, so they start chasing something that they didn't even really want all along. It was that. It was also the fact that there was mentorship. So even when it was a spirit there in the before, or I forgot what it was called, but the pre-beyond or some shit, he ended up becoming a mentor for selfish reasons. But he taught her to be inspired at some point, like someone that everyone else deemed as untrainable. She got inspired by someone who, was just really trying to get back on Earth just to finish this one thing, like to see it through. And it's like, for me, if we're gonna talk about personalities, the Great Beyond is completely different.
I'm not gonna lie. This is just my personal opinion. I'm not looking to debate about it. But I feel like it's an agenda going on with all these shows directed towards these kids and just in period with all these shows and movies coming out in which they are demonizing God and religion.
Oh.
Be that as it may. I'm dead serious because there's a lot of movies and shows that I'm seeing that when it comes to God or whatnot, they make him seem like he's a bad person or a terrible person or he's making terrible decisions. And then when it comes to demonic or demon or negative traits and stuff, they want to make it seem like it's not as bad as it really is.
And what are you
So
watching?
in regards to this type of movie,
I feel like it's when you say like just the whole whatever you were saying about we all go to a certain place, just the whole talk on like the concept of the great beyond and this whole thing. It's some type of agenda or concept that's being pushed. Like I said, I'm not trying to debate
oh
about
no, it's not a debate, but I feel like since we are gonna go off topic to get where you're coming from, and because I see the great beyond the way it was being described as heaven.
Yeah,
So my thing is, if in religion, not only Christianity but in Islam, in Buddhism, there's a form of heaven, even though they speak of it no more in the mind. There's an aspect of heaven everyone is trying to obtain. This person was scared to go there because he thought he died too soon. And that's what a lot of people fear on earth. Like, I don't want to die before I finish X, Y, and Z. And then later on, they may not ever acquire it. So if they should die before that time, or before other people view it's not time, because people didn't, he wasn't even dead at first. At first, he was in a coma. So it was just kind of like he was on his way there to die. And it was just like, when do we, I guess to honor your observation or your question, what part of that is demonized? Because they never really touched it. Yeah, but my thing is based on, because we didn't give him a backstory and we're talking around him. So I'm trying to give him a little bit more understanding on what that great beyond was. It sounded more like heaven. And he was scared to go there because he didn't think he was done. And a lot of us feel that way, like, I don't want to die until I see my kids get married, finish college, become successful. Or I don't want to die before I get this degree or before I lose whatever. Like, you feel me? People feel like they have to get these things done, and that was his dilemma. So even in the process of him being scared to die, he inspired a future generation to do something. He also realized that he was running back to Earth to obtain something that wasn't even his dream. So it was just kind of like that. To me, that was pretty deep, and I don't feel like it demonized religion. If anything, it's basically keeping us more on like a solid thing. Do what you enjoy, but don't make that it also was keeping him from living. You know what I'm saying? Like, do what you enjoy, but still live. Like, still find a meaning to life itself, not just to what pleasures. Like, that's what I got. And then I got another question, because basically, in that sense, no. If we're gonna talk about spirits and great beyond and stuff, to feel that demonizes God, why? Because in a sense, that means, and then you said that the other part was demonic. Why is that deemed demonic when even in religion, not just Christianity, but in Islam, in other religions, heaven, state of mind being in heaven, being scared of death, where even Jesus in certain aspects has to, I guess, give people an understanding of going to heaven, you know what I'm saying, or going back to your Father, to God. So my thing is, that was basically what that was a part of. So like, what part of spirituality is demonic when even in religion they speak of a form of spirituality? Does that make sense? Huh? Well, no. But as right now, we were talking about soul, and based on the details we gave him, he was saying that some parts was demonic and other parts was demonizing God. Right, but he also was going off of some of the details we gave about this particular show. So my thing is, what part of spirituality makes it to the point where it demonizes God or it is demonic? Because the great beyond, for some, might be something completely like reincarnation, right? The Bible might not specifically talk about reincarnation outright, but there are forms of it. So, like, what part of that is demonic? What part of going to the great beyond is demonic? And this is without, I'm at least hoping that I am not making what your observation is wrong. I just want to get a better clarity on what part of that is demonic or anti-God. You know what I'm saying? If at some point even Christianity speaks of spirituality or those terms, even if it's a little different. You know what I'm saying?
It sounded like that was a trigger for you.
No, it's not. I'm just saying, like, based on, we said something, you said that it was anti-God, basically. They're demonizing God. So that's a trigger for you in an instance. So I'm saying, for me to understand you and to understand where you're, right, so even in those instances, because we weren't.
He's talking about the shows because he hasn't seen that show.
Okay.
It's very easy.
So even
He
though.
says he's not going to debate it because he's not going to debate the show he hasn't seen.
Okay,
So he says, I'm talking about these other shows.
right. So that means he's seen a similarity in this show to even bring up those shows. So I'm asking, based on the details we gave him, it triggered him or it caused him to think of other shows. So what part of those terms are demonic and how is it anti-God? That's not a trigger for me. This is me trying to understand. This is someone who has gone to church, has gone to the mosque, has converted to Buddhism, has still taken on certain aspects of Christianity, and I still hold. You know what I'm saying? So I'm trying to understand what part of that
When people say things,
is demonic or
people
anti-God.
are saying things, and they have, so when people say things, they take what they're saying.
So I'm asking what part is demonic or anti-God.
And I'm trying to help you understand. It has nothing to do with that.
But it did. Once he said that show and other shows, he was taking some details from what we described. Even as someone that did not watch it, the details we gave, since we
It
didn't.
reminded him.
Right.
But
So,
keep it real,
okay, so
he did like
moving
hella
soul-
take over
moving
C
soul
segment,
apart.
though, 'cause
But
this
that was
the
kind of
second
going to happen because we were basically asked yes or no questions, and
But
we're
no, he had a
into
deeper
dialogue.
meaning to it though. Nobody even got to really answer though.
I answered mine.
Cause he was like, "Would you really sacrifice your prized possessions for your free wishes?"
This one is about soul and personality.
Oh, okay.
But the thing is, you started talking about Break Beyond, and I think
We
the
started-
brother over here started
But
talking
we
about something.
elaborated more on the movie, which I also.
But it had nothing to do with personality. So
So-
being out. But the movie didn't really it touched a small part of personality. So that's just why I was like, are we gonna give them a backstory? Because the movie, it was a small part of personality, more on purpose, inspiring the next generation, and conforming, not conforming to what others feel you're supposed to be and shit like that. So once we actually, like, if everybody would have watched the movie, it would have been one thing. But based on the terms we gave him, which was kind of an unfair assessment because now we're now on something else. Right, and that's where we got demonic. So that's why I'm just asking him what part of that is demonic is in major religions they speak of those same terms. No, since now we're veering off, what part of
No, we
those
just
would be
moved back.
demonic or anti-God?
Simple.
And that's without calling anything of his belief demonic or anti-God. Because at the end of the day, I subscribe to certain parts.
Also, January 10th, American Gods come back. I'm about to get y'all
I
back.
hate
caught up
that
to
show. I hate
February
symbolism
19th.
behind it.
I'm not looking forward to it.
Still be- Don't forget January 19th, the real nigga was born.
She said January 19th, the real nigga was born.
That nigga over there was born January 19th.
Oh, okay.
I don't want to
That nigga.
What else we got planned for January? Tell them what we got planned, y'all.
My son's birthday the 4th.
Oh!
My wife's birthday the 6th.
Oh!
My mom's birthday the 10th.
Oh, dang,
Just hella Capricorn.
Yeah, her mom's
Yes,
birthday
you
the
are
11th.
surrounded by the best people ever.
Oh my God.
We finna start doing cypher
Y'all are
Sundays, y'all.
bossy.
On Sundays, we finna start just doing ciphers, bro. We're gonna do it once a month, bro. Hosted by yours truly. It's a challenge. So that's what we got planned for the new year.
January, we'll be getting our W-2s. We don't know how that's gonna go
Nah.
because a lot of things are changing. A lot of people. Another reason why I just said that is because this W-4, the change in the W-4 has it's already impacted people. It was impacting me. So I think I started seeing what the new W-4s has been going on for a whole year.
Oh, no, that's not.
No, so that's,
brought the tax on.
no.
Yeah,
I'm saying the fact that people had to basically do their own tax exemption math.
Which is the W.
Right. But with the original W-4, remember it was a small little box. The biggest math that you had to do was just claim your exemption on box 5. So you usually say myself as head of household, 2 children, maybe status 3. I might be status 2, I might be status 5, but you understood what you were checking off. On this new W-4, maybe most people haven't had to do it in this room because you might have been consistently working at the same job, so you may have to change it. But if you started, well, most people don't have to change every year.
Well, I change it because every third quarter or fourth quarter I go exempt.
Right. So, but even in those instances, like to change your whole shit or like go back and all that shit, like most people don't have to, they don't change yearly, so they wouldn't have known a difference in the W-4. But I know January 1st of 2020, most people were like looking at 2 papers instead of 1 square. And it was very confusing and they were filling it out wrong. And even at my job, I have to stand there and tell grown people how to fill it out because it's intimidating.
Are they trying to go exempt or what is
No, just W-4, period. Like it's 2 pages now. So it's state and federal. And 1 long box is what normally would have been on 1 line of the original W-4. Now it's a whole nother page, and then the D-4, which is the one that you now put what box 5 was. So it's just kind of like, it's going to impact a lot of people. I'm curious to see. I've seen some people already, taxes not being taken out right, no taxes being taken out. The W-4 is being rejected because you filled out 1 page and not the other one. Or jobs just arbitrarily just doing what they want to do. So it's just like, and then HR not even knowing how to read the shit, so they keep sending it back to people, and it's nothing even wrong with me. So it's just like, I'm interested to see how this tax season will go.
That's what
it sounds like.
I'm so sorry.
Yeah, it's gonna go off the previous year anyway, so.
Right, so it's 2020. So the W-4 of this last year, 2020, that's the issue. So this year, when they file their taxes, they filled it wrong, or HR don't know how to interpret it correctly. They're gonna be fucked. They're gonna be fucked like that.
I want to take this time to also have an announcement to all musicians, please, please tap in with any of the revamped cast. We're going to start this thing called a shed. Yes, you probably heard of it. In layman's terms, it's called a jam session. You can come and perform live. Live instruments. We want you to come and express that talent, show that talent. We want to record it on our YouTube channel, for content. So please tap in with anybody on this page, at least especially me at @seed_finally_on_IG. The more revamp coming to you, we don't never stop. We can't stop. Diddy ain't got nothing involved with this. We just getting better. That was a good show. I like that one. We should have another one. I'll see y'all next
So
week.
me and Coltrane will be at this shed.
You feel me? Yes, we need that. Make sure y'all tune in too. We didn't forget about y'all. Thanks for tuning in. Yeah, what you thought? You thought you was on camera?
It's always on.
You love the camera.
It's always
Everything.
on.
It's 9:55.
We started late.
Well, just cut the music out like you be doing everybody else. Sorry.
I'm just saying weeks on
What time y'all started?
Weeks here, so.
Who was we, bro? Why you didn't start?
I felt it. Go ahead and
Who was
say
we? Why you didn't start?
Man, hopes.
Y'all started?
Oh my! So when I be here,
Oh, I said he was here, but you were late again. I'm not gonna speak to that. But you had Aaron.
Okay, we need to end the show, y'all. We have this stuff online. We can't have these conversations online.
See, always on next week.
We'll see y'all next week. We don't have these
so
conversations
we're not gonna do
online.
every topic.
I mean, see,
Well, we ain't got enough time. It's 10 o'clock.
It's almost like the time I got numbed.
or the time we were doing your podcast.
You just turn off the music.
Drop the beat.